strong opinions softly held, I think, is a really good motto, isn't it? It's good to have strong opinions.
We've lost the ability to debate.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, too many people have got away with kind of mouthing off behind the keyboard and not having enough smacks to the face as a result of it. To kind of do like, do you know what I mean, right?
They're offended so easily. They're so quick to get angry and.
You're tuning into RecTalk, UK's #1 recruitment podcast. I'm your host, Nitin Sharma, founder of RecTools.io and a proud board member of the Recruitment Curry Club. Check out my LinkedIn to find out more information about both of those things. My guest today is Alex Elliott. Alex, thank you so much for making the journey down. And we're here to talk about kind of the difference between and the shift we're seeing now between scaling and scalability in a recruitment business towards profitability and the importance of that. So look, mate, first of all, thank you for coming down. Really appreciate taking the time. You are a successfully exited founder of recruitment businesses. You are a board advisor for a handful of recruitment agencies that are out there and an investor in sort of recruitment businesses and RecTech. So I think you're probably best placed to sit here and kind of pull this topic apart. So let's start by kind of looking at this paradigm shift that we've seen from, a successful recruitment business was how many heads have you got and what your turnover is. And that doesn't seem to be the conversation out there anymore. What do you think that is?
I think we've just been through a really tough couple of years, haven't we? And I think you've definitely seen a shift from going for scale to going for profitability, because naturally not too many recruitment companies have successfully continued scaling over the last couple of years, which is completely, it's understandable. We're the vanguard of the recruitment is at the vanguard of the economic cycle, isn't it? So when things are good, things are good. And unfortunately, when things are bad, they definitely aren't good. So we've certainly seen that. And I think it's been a really tough period the last couple of years. And I think lots of businesses have been in survival mode, understandably, because there just hasn't been the same opportunity. Lots have had to actually scale back. And you're certainly seeing now lots and lots of examples of companies that unfortunately haven't made it through this period. So, I think they're probably the principal reasons why profit has definitely been the progress and not headcount.
It's a shame it's taken this long though, because like ebbs and flows have always existed in the recruitment industry, right? And for some reason, when times are great, we immediately as business owners go, let's fucking hire and just get a load of headcount in. And then when things start to dip off, it's like, I need to get rid of all these people that I've just brought in, or most of these people that I've just brought in. And that's been a cycle that's kind of gone on for years. But this time around, it sort of feels a bit different because the immediate, green shoots everywhere right now, but that immediate kind of desire to go back to, I'll just hire a load of people again, seems to have dissipated. Do you think that's an educational thing, or do you think that is actually people accepting that scale isn't the answer?
I do think scale can be the answer. And it's like everything, isn't it? What's the right answer to stuff? Well, the answer is always it depends. And I think recruitment businesses, I believe there is an understandable, if you're looking to grow something of scale, if you want to make your business really valuable within recruitment, it has to have scale. If you want value creation, you need scale. I think recruitment is one of those weird industries where it's a really inefficient business model.
Yeah.
Because the more you scale, the more inefficient you become, certainly from a unit economics perspective, because the more you scale, the more you have to add management levels, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So the bigger you get, actually, your unit economics get worse, but you have to do that anyway to be able to get to the level of scale and size, both from a headcount and from a financial perspective, which is going to give you the value if you're looking for either a wealth creation event at the end of that, or you're simply looking to build something which can generate serious cash as an asset. So I think there's always an interesting sort of piece around profitability versus scaling. I think the important thing is understanding what you're looking to achieve and why at the beginning of the process. It's understanding, therefore, the different stages of growth you have to go through and what that's going to look like.
So what are they then? So let's kind of look into that. So I ran a recruitment agency, started off as a 2-person business that then grew to 15 people. At its peak was turning over 1.8 mil, and then it all come crashing down. And I know why that happened in terms of retrospectively can go, hang on, these were all these stupid mistakes that we made along the way, right? But yeah, so what are the things that, to that you've identified in your experience that you need to kind of have in place to have the foundations each time you do go, right, now we're going to scale a bit further and a bit further, whilst maintaining that profitability arc?
It's a big question, and naturally, therefore, there's an awful lot there. But I've just formally set up an advisory business because I'm asked to do a lot of advisory work. So I'm doing it formally now, and I've called my advisory business Phase 6 Advisory. I know it's probably a really lame name, but I did that thing where I was like, well, I'm giving myself 24 hours to come up with a name because I'm not spending 6 months trying to come up with a perfect name. And it kind of linked back to when I sold my business and like a code we used in the business with regards to discussing sort of like the exit. So it kind of links. There is a reason.
Right, fair. So there's a story behind it. Yeah, it could be something odd. Like, you'd be like, oh yeah, we've used this really obscure Egyptian god that means this and that kind of name.
Oh no, mine's not.
Yeah,
It's got quite a cool name behind it. But the reason it's also Phase 6 is because I believe the model, the framework that I work to, there's broadly 6 different stages you go through, from effectively starting your business as a 1 or a 2-man band, all the way up to being at the point where you've made yourself redundant, and then you can make a decision with regards to what you do with that business asset, whether it's sell it, whether it's hold on to it and actually use it to generate cash moving forward, etc., or an MBO, whatever it might be, those different options with regards to an exit. So that's why there's Phase 6. So just to get that in there as well. But I think, without diving into that in too much detail, I think
Otherwise, got nothing to sell.
well, there we go. But trust me, I've always got stuff I can sell. I'm a recruiter at heart. That's absolutely fine. So I think stage 1 is you start your business, and what you have to be able to do as a recruiter is, like 99 times out of 100, you've been a really successful recruiter in a different environment.
Yeah.
So let's say your example, for instance, I know you work for one of the really big corporates. You set up your recruitment company. I think stage 1 is proving that you've got the algorithm of what works in your particular recruitment space, where if I do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, it leads me all the way through this process, and I end up making placements of X average value, and I can do this at a high enough volume to generate this certain level of revenue. Now, most recruiters go into that environment. There is a bit of a transition to go from an existing organization where you've got all of that structure around you doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
But I think the real key at that stage 1 is, A, you need to prove your own sales engine, what the playbook is to make a successful recruitment consultant in this space. I think the key at that stage, though, is that you also have to be able to prove that you can get other people to run your algorithm, your playbook, whatever you want to call it. And that also produces financial returns, which are profitable and therefore scalable if you want to be able to grow that recruitment company.
Right.
So for me, that's
that player management phase, right? Where
very much so.
owner is still running a desk whilst also they're managing,
Yep.
a crop of new starters, experienced personnel and training recruiters, and trying to manage.
And you're wearing all the hats.
Yeah.
And it's a really
But
interesting.
you've established as a business, this is the culture in which we operate in, as in this is how we do our recruitment. Whether it's a sales engine, a marketing based business, or kind of a blend of the two.
Whatever your go-to-market strategy is, I've just whacked the thing.
It's all right, don't worry, you just make it move.
That's fine. So it's so close to me. I feel like I have
I
to.
did ask you this though. I did
I like it. I like it.
It's calling baby today.
I like it. So what are we talking about? So yeah, stage 1, you've got to prove this is my go-to-market approach. It works and it makes money, and it's a profitable way of doing business. And also I can hire people in and get them to do it as well, so that they also produce above average market returns effectively. So this is proving the concept that you've got the kernel of something there, because you can do it and you can train other people to do it.
Most don't get past that phase though, do they?
I agree. They don't. And that's really difficult. And I think there's lots of reasons for that. But I think if you look at really, really basically and there's an awful lot more to it, but basically that's probably one of the key challenges that people find.
Yeah.
Can I do it? Can I train other people to do it so that it's predictable and repeatable? And that I'm not just hiring people and saying, this is finance recruitment. We don't measure KPIs. You'll be fine. Here's a list of clients to call. Off you go. And then you get complete variance in results. But what you want to be able to do is produce a system. This is my operating system, my sales engine, my go-to-market approach, whatever you call it. And I can train and get other people to repeat this and do it to, if not the exact same standard, certainly you want them working at 80 to 90% of your results. If you can do that consistently, you've got something that you can grow at that point.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
And without that, you're building on shaky foundations, because you could have a biller who does 300K, you could have a biller who does 50K, and a huge variance in between those if you've got half a dozen billers. Well, there's a problem with that, because what that suggests to me is it's the individual themselves that determines the results, rather than your business being the thing that drives the predictable returns, which is, of course, you're always going to have some variation in your billings. Of course you are, but it should be a much tighter than that. And you should have the majority of people should be hitting or exceeding target.
Based on your formula, right? Because again, if it's a case that go in, okay, my plan further down this line is to sell. Well, what are they buying? Are they buying the crop of people that you've got and cultivated? And some are great billers and some aren't so great and some work really well in this market. Or are they buying that recruitment strategy and process that you've put into place, that whether it's you, him, they can all do it, and the variation in their billings is not a huge amount. So it's a conveyor belt model. Yeah,
It was described to me once as you need a conveyor belt, and I thought,
I never looked at it that way.
it's you need to be able to demonstrate that you're hiring. You can hire 10 people. You can put those 10 people through your onboarding program, and then you can put them into performance management, which is effectively how they're managed on an ongoing, consistent basis, moving throughout their careers and a career development plan. And also that of those 10, X are still going to be with you in 12 months and Y are still going to be with you in 24 months. And here's some predictability with regards to the revenue that's going to generate. So it's like a sausage machine.
Yeah.
I put the meat in this bit. Oh, I don't know why I remember the sausage machine.
I was at the meat
in this
I
bit,
was thinking,
and the sausage comes out.
yeah, I was thinking sort of the analogy there is sort of a restaurant chain, right?
Sure.
What you wouldn't want at all is a chain of 7 restaurants and every single one of them is slightly better or worse,
Couldn't agree more.
depending on the chef.
McDonald's is an amazing business because of its consistency.
That's it. Yeah.
And its predictability and reliability. You go into a McDonald's and there might be some cultural differences in China or wherever it might be compared
So
to
you know what you're going to get, and it's going to be the same as what you get.
the same as recruitment companies. All our business, really, every business unit, 90% of it's going to be the same based upon processes and the overarching culture. But there'll always be a little bit.
Do you know what I love about that though is that we hear so much about it's a people business and it's people focused and hire the right people for your business and culture's key and that kind of thing. You don't hear many people talking about get your process and what are you as a recruitment agency, get that right. Because that's what's going to drive consistent revenue rather than being like, shit,
I couldn't agree more.
there was a point in time where I was billing loads because I had top billers in my team and then they left and now I've got this new crop of people and we've felt the hit. Why? Because actually they kind of just bill how they want to bill and they do things the way they want to do it and what's right for them, as opposed to systematically my recruitment business operates in this way. So
And I think everyone has their unique strengths, and you play to those strengths. So some people might be better on the phone. Some people, everyone's got unique strengths, and of course, you want to leverage that and play to those strengths. But again, I think you'll always find that 70 to 90%, 70 probably is too low, but 70 to 90% of what you guys do is probably very, very similar. And then each one's got their own unique little thing that sort of drives their
I
performance.
suppose that plays into a continuity of experience for both candidates and clients as well, then, right? Because they know what they're going to get, whether it's no longer no, I only deal with Alex. It's no, I deal with recruitment agency AB because I've had a great experience with Alex, but how they do recruitment is great because actually I've had to deal with his or her colleagues a few times and they all operate in the same way.
I agree more. If you're taking a job, it shouldn't matter which consultant takes that job. They should all have the same level of the same standard of expectation based upon their onboarding and their ongoing performance management. The business sets the standards with regards to this is how you take a job. Yeah. And these are minimum standards with regards to how we maximize the likelihood of making a profitable placement and looking after our client and getting them the best possible people in the market that could fill that role. So again, there's just one example where if you have someone goes in and does a half-assed job, taking a brief, that the consequences of that are obviously pretty poor, you shouldn't have that much deviation with regards to the standards that you set in your company. So I think people hear process and sometimes that freaks them out. And we were talking about phase one.
Yeah.
And phase one, the truth is, as the founder, it's not like what you document, you've got all that stuff documented and you're handing someone a playbook. It's all in your head. But that's fine because you're the founder. You work so closely with those people around you. You're on top of everything. You're the big rainmaker in the office, probably. You sit within the vicinity of everyone within the room so they can hear you on the phone. You're at their desk routinely coaching them. Maybe it's not proactive, structured coaching because you're so spread and you're wearing so many hats. But I think your level of involvement really closely with your team, you naturally impart your standards and your processes in the way that you operate onto them. As you go through the different phases, that needs to go from being you being that person who's just got their hands on everything and knows everything that's going on. And you need to, at that point, formalize it, document it, turn it into a formal playbook of how we do things around here with our non-negotiables, our minimum standards, which
That's a massive learning curve, though, isn't it? I mean, I know from experience. I was invited onto the Talent Matters podcast for Dave Jenkins and Wade, right? And we were talking about kind of all sorts of different stuff. And he asked me, look, what's the very first thing that you should be doing as a business owner when starting a recruitment business? And my answer was business plan, as in not just a tick a box and say, hey, here you go, I've got a business plan. It's no, actually put down, what is this that I'm doing? Why am I doing it? And what's it going to look like? Because that level of formality needs to exist, right? One of the biggest mistakes we made as a recruitment business I went into business with a good friend of mine, and we didn't have a shareholders agreement. We didn't have a what if this happens, what happens in this event. We didn't even discuss where do we want to take the business. I was happy with the lifestyle business. He wanted to grow and scale. So immediately, right from the kind of ground up, you're like, hang on, this is a bit different to, neither of us are happy with the outcome of what we've produced because I wanted to do this.
vision.
No, that's it. Yeah.
From day one, you didn't have a shared
Because we never sat and did the business plan and went, what the fuck is this? Where is it going? And where do we want to be in 5 years time, 7 years time, 10 years time, and actually, how do we get there as well? Because you're right. We did have a process. I had my way of recruiting. He had his way of recruiting. And then when we hired, I trained my guys on my way of recruiting. He trained his guys on his way of recruiting. And so constantly there was this sort of wobble within the team or within the business.
And the truth is, it is bonkers because the reality is between the two of you, there was a better way of doing things at each stage of.
We could have landed on something that was like, wow, that's great.
Yeah, this is the optimal way that we take a job brief. This is the optimal way that we do our outreach and identify A, the suitable clients, B, the buyer personas of these clients. This is how we approach them. This is how we attract them and get them interested. It's all just sales funnel management, and it's all mapping that stuff out, whiteboarding it, and getting complete and utter clarity on what is the optimal or a really high performance standards for each stage of your sort of recruitment process. Because if you'd agreed that stuff at the beginning, how beneficial is that going to be culturally and to the business as a whole when you bring in everyone in and doing the same thing?
It's easy to provide somebody with a playbook of like, this is how our business does things.
Sure.
This is, it's great that you've got this skill set and that skill set and you've done this here and that there. This is how we do it. This is the minimal level of expectation here. Well,
Sure.
Because that helps us as a business owner predict, revenue growth and where the dips are.
And you can manage performance properly. So if you've got 6 people and they all operate in a different way, that becomes incredibly challenging from a performance management perspective because you're kind of scratching your head all the time thinking, well, where do I go with each individual? Because they all operate in a different way. So if we don't have an agreed way of operating, how do you manage and drive performance improvements? It's incredibly difficult. And if you want to get to 15, 20 heads, all of a sudden, if you've got literally 20 people doing different things, how do you train and develop that? I think it becomes incredibly difficult. Your metrics won't make any sense.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second though, because I mean, like, process and structure are alien to somebody like me because I hate those things, right? Because I like to kind of bounce here, there, and everywhere. And so there's a part of me that is sitting there immediately thinking, well, hang on a minute. For what you're describing is effectively a copy and paste or like making the ultimate recruitment robot and going, right, now I want to do 15 of these and I can get to this point. And in people's individuality and people's kind of some people being better on, outbound, some people being better generating inbound and all that sort of stuff. That doesn't play into necessarily everyone's strengths. So does that not limit the crop of people that you can hire and the types of people you can bring into the business?
I think 100% it limits the type of people you can hire. But I think if you're hiring driven, motivated individuals who have clear goals with regards to what they want to get out of their career, both financially, from a career perspective, the enjoyment they get from their work. I think being able to describe what I'm describing with regards to, I can teach you how to be one of the very best recruiters within this particular vertical or space. I will give you the tools to the kingdom. I will give you a blueprint for success. Like for me, I'm taking that job.
Yeah.
And I think the answer the answer that you provided, I would challenge you as to say whether that's truly optimal, because it sounds a little bit like you're saying you do what you enjoy doing more, and that's what makes you unique. I'm not entirely sure that's right. Like you're better at inbound, you're better at outbound. No, you both need to be good at both. And you could,
There's some people who just aren't.
have a little
Yeah, well, yeah,
step a little bit towards it, but
Mm.
if you don't want to do outbounds and you want to, like, what are you doing there? You know, what you
I get it. No, I do get it. I think, yeah, yeah. But we're in a. I mean, you mentioned a couple of things there, which I think are key to consider. Is that we are in a world right now where there's a new crop or a kind of disgruntled crop of people in the workplace who don't know what they're motivated by, and it certainly isn't career growth and financial incentives and that kind of thing, because these things are so far removed from their day to day. So is that going to change kind of the way you approach your 6 phases? And do you know what I mean?
who are
'Cause
those people in recruitment that aren't motivated by career or money? Because again, I live in a bubble, right? So my
I'm
six
speaking to a lot of business owners right now, right?
business owners,
Business owners
yeah.
who are saying they're really struggling to get the best out of their people.
Oh, they need to get different people then.
But this is it. Those people out there?
I think every generation, I'm assuming we're
Yeah,
not far
yeah.
off in age. I think I'm a fair bit older than you, but we're a similar age. Every generation complains about the generation that comes after them.
Of course they do.
Regards to work
Yeah, of course they
ethic,
do.
and and genuinely, it feels a little bit like that. I've worked with the previous company that I was heavily involved with. I met some youngsters there, and they were amazing.
Mm,
And they're a different breed as well, because not only were they incredibly career and financially motivated, but they lived like a really healthy lifestyle. So my era, you went to the pub every night.
Oh, yeah,
It was a work hard, play hard environment, whereas they would work hard and then go and do
mm.
yoga.
Their enjoyment is kind of, but that's
So that actually made them more motivated because they weren't hungover all the time.
absolutely.
So
But this is the difference, though, right? In the you've seen there is a difference in kind of the type of people, right? We would go work till as late as possible, go to the pub, slam a pizza on the way home, that kind of thing, do it all again tomorrow. These guys are like, no, 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 my body is a temple kind of mentality, or more specifically, kind of, happiness comes from a variety of different things. I need to look after myself because
they're still doing the hours.
health is wealth. Yeah, they are. They absolutely are. But their motivator in terms of their end goal is very different to what we grew up in.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have we had it really kind of clear and mapped out for us. Whereas the certainly the crop that I've spoken to are they're more bothered by social purpose. They don't necessarily want to work for the biggest brands.
yeah.
What they want to know is, what does that brand do and what do they represent? Because I'm aligning myself to that person for that business. They want the career ladder isn't really something that they're motivated by. It's more the financial freedom to go and do whatever the fuck they want.
Mm.
Whether that's retire early, whether that's holiday up 7 times a year or whatever, then those motivators are slightly changing. And so that then for me leans into the question of, is that kind of, here's how I do it and everybody needs to be good at everything or go and find another job? Is that mentality going to survive in the next run that we're heading into?
Who knows? Right. I certainly think it will. I think the two things it's really interesting having this conversation. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think two things spring to mind. One is standards. And I think every high performance culture, there are high standards
Yeah.
and expectations around those standards being delivered upon. So I don't think that environment is right for everyone. And that leads to my second point, which is find your tribe.
Yeah.
Because trust me, I would not be suitable going on to this. Back in my day, I found my tribe and it was a high performance environment. It was
Yeah.
pretty dog eat dog. And actually, I changed massively over time, but I went into an environment which was high performance, dog eat dog. It was long hours. It was a really quite a hardcore culture. And I don't think there's many companies like that now,
Mm.
but for the right reasons as well, because that wasn't the best culture. But I still think there's an awful lot of companies out there that have incredibly high performance standards, which have actually softened around the edges in relation to how I was also describing it.
Mhm.
But I think most importantly, find your own tribe. So I think how many recruitment companies are there in the UK? 40 odd thousand or something like that. There will be recruitment businesses out there for every type of individual who's interested in a career in recruitment.
Yep.
But I would still suggest that if you're not a driven, if you're not an intrinsically motivated individual, regardless of what those motivations are for, whether it's for pure cash, whether it's for career, whether it's for lifestyle and independence, recruitment is still probably not going to be the right career for you. It
Mm.
is a tough career. And it's all about rejection and it's all about perseverance and grit. And it's all about being able to rinse and repeat. And you have to be a bit of
Continually.
mentally, you have to be an athlete to be good at
Yeah.
recruitment.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I agree with lots of the stuff you're saying. And I think a lot of it comes back to you find your own tribe.
Mm. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? Because I think that generally we've always had the benefit, right, of being able to look back and go, right, historically, these sorts of things have happened before, and therefore this is what we need to do. The playbook is this, right? Do this, more of this, less of this, and we'll be fine. But increasingly, we seem to be certainly sort of post-COVID times. We seem to be in these unprecedented times, but like generally, there is nothing for us to look back at and go, okay, that was the playbook back then. That's what we need to do. That means replicate that. There's a mind shift change in people. There's been kind of, an explosion in startup businesses and the number of newly kind of formed businesses.
Mm.
And so that in itself comes with challenges because you've got a bunch of people coming in to the entrepreneurial world with a significant lack of understanding of how business operates. Um, Couple all of that then in with the technology boom that we're in. I don't think there is a playbook you can look back at and go, this is the way that we need to do it because that's what
Mm.
worked last time.
And I think you're always adapting. So no playbook is set in stone. No effective operating model is always going to stay the same because part of a high performance culture is that you're always looking to improve. And that's the same with your processes and the way that you go to market. So you're always analyzing the data. You're always understanding what's working and what isn't working, and you're using that information to be able to identify the critical blockages or leverage points within your business with regards to the appropriate strategy is dependent upon the structural conditions of the market. So that's just fundamental, right? So what will work here is not going to work over there if the structural components of those two markets are different. So when the market's booming, CV spec-ins, that's the example I use. Just do CV spec-ins and you'll make loads and loads of money. When the market's not booming, CV spec-ins don't work. So again, if you have an understanding of an optimal process, if you have data which supports because everything's maths, everything in business is maths.
Yeah.
So if you understand the underlying numbers that drive your sales engine, your go-to-market approach, your hiring, whatever it might be internally, all of your business is numbers. So as you get more and more sophisticated and you really start to understand the numbers in your business and you can look beneath the bonnet, that starts to give you an understanding of what works and what doesn't work or what's stopped working as effectively. And then that gives you the ability to be able to look into that and say, why are we no longer getting interviews from CV specs?
Mhm.
Why is our job flow reduced by 20% over the last quarter?
Mm.
So again, it's just, I think, I, I think you're clearly a creative guy. And I can see it sometimes, like, it's almost like, oh God, you feel a little bit
Yeah,
suffocated.
yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
get that because I think that's a really fair, fair reaction in so many ways.
But you're obviously right. Well, no,
There's different phases of scaling.
Yeah.
You go from being an entrepreneurial rainmaker who is just involved in everything and is the one. It wasn't one for me. It was me and my business partner. We were the reasons the business was either being successful or not.
Yeah.
But as you have to go through those different phases of growth, you have to turn it into a business.
Yeah.
And that means removing yourself and getting increasingly being made redundant in each role as you progress up the company, and being able to put in process and system which drives the business rather than. And obviously you need exceptional individuals, but the exceptional individuals are the one that drive the process and the systems. And
They'll take good to great, won't they?
100%.
You know, but you still need, yeah. No, I'll completely kind of agree to that, right? I hate that. There's a structure and process and that kind of thing. But I've had to have a very similar conversation myself in sort of the recent months where I've gone, okay, if you actually want to scale this, you can't be the only person doing all of this, all of this, all of this, all of this. You know, you need to now start going, okay, what are the parts of my business that I can grow out, scale, where I can hire in or use outsource where it's appropriate to be able to go, okay, I don't do that part anymore. That's freed up time. And then I suppose the most important thing at this point is, what do you do with that time that you freed up, right? So you're now, you were the person that was doing all the bookkeeping in your business, in your recruitment business, and you were, keeping track of everything. You've managed to find a solution to that, be it digital or outsource or in-house. Now, what are you doing with that time? Where does it need to be invested next? Do you have a skills gap that needs addressing? If are you more, do you spend more time doing the do and leading from the front? Actually, do you need to be doing the coaching stuff? Or do you need to be upskilling yourself in other parts of your kind of back office business?
And good planning will understanding what the top of the mountain looks like, where are we heading, figuring out what the different peaks to get up the mountain look like roughly.
Yeah.
But then also understanding that each peak is a separate journey.
Yeah.
And there are different things you need to be able to do to get from stage one to peak 2 to peak 3 to peak 4, etc., etc. And then focusing in on the right things at the right time. And that will help you determine what the highest value activities you could be doing at that particular stage of growth are. It will also help you understand where the blockages are and what are the things that are going to prevent me from getting to the next stage, which then is what you're talking about with regards to skill gaps, personnel, processes and systems, leadership. Like, I think identifying, attracting, developing and retaining leaders is the one consistent through every single stage of growth you go through, certainly within a recruitment business. And that's one of the main blockers normally, because it's like, well, look, this is where you are now. To get to the next stage, you need a management layer, because you can't grow anymore with it just you doing everything.
No.
So where are your high potential leaders who can either take those roles on now or have the ability and potential that you can develop over a certain time frame into those roles?
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, your business stops growing. Without leaders, your recruitment company doesn't grow. And people get that wrong. They think it's about just hiring recruitment consultants. It's not. It's about hiring recruitment consultants or trainees and then being able to develop a high enough proportion of those hires into high potential leaders, or hiring a high enough proportion who are high potential leaders and developing them into those roles. And same with, even if you bring in experienced hires from outside, that's a huge blockage.
No, that's fair. What's coming to me a lot in this conversation is the visualization of it being, sort of several mountains to climb and peaks to get to, rather than just one big, here you are today as a solopreneur or a SMB, and here's where you want to get to, and it's just one constant climb. You know what I mean? Because that feels daunting and is difficult to kind of comprehend. But actually breaking it into those chunks makes a lot of sense, as you say, is let's get this bit right first. Get that working, get that replicable. Okay, brilliant. Now this is the next phase to go to.
Each peak is the foundation for the next peak. And if you try and skip it, it falls over.
Yeah, you know how.
And that's what happens. So I think it's a good way to visualize it, isn't it? And I think it also makes sense. But you've got to build the right foundations at each stage to be able to then get to the next peak.
Yeah, the next one was it. Right, I'm going to close off with a question I ask almost all my guests. Is recruitment a sales business?
Yes.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever said no?
I knew you were going to say that.
Has anyone ever said no?
Yeah. A few have, yeah. I don't believe it is. I believe it's a professional service.
But it's
But because by that merit,
yeah.
every accountancy practice out there is a sales business, and every law firm out there is a sales business.
The accountancy business, the accountants don't have to find and win their own business.
They do. They're fee earners. They're billers.
They are fee earners within the corporate structure, which provides them with the business. So don't get me wrong. A partner is the person who drives their particular business unit. So if you look at my accountants, I know the partners there within their particular remits. They are responsible for driving overall business, but all of the accountants below them are given work and then they clock it on an hourly basis. So they're not responsible for doing what they hunt.
Similar to a business developer, like a 180 and a 180 model, right?
I love how we've just ended up arguing the entire time as well, by the way. This is amazing. Like,
Honestly, I like you've changed my view on a few things, as you have, Josh, and I'll always concede to like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. You've convinced me. I like that, but yeah, I like to think that there's certain viewpoints that I have where people walk off and go, fucking hell, yeah, doesn't make a bit of sense.
strong opinions softly held, I think, is a really good motto, isn't it? It's good to have strong opinions.
We lost the ability to debate.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, too many people have got away with kind of mouthing off behind the keyboard and not having enough smacks to the face as a result of it. It's a kind of like right size. Yeah, do you know what I mean, right?
They get offended so easily, and they're so quick to get angry. And
I don't know why people think it's their job to change other people's opinions. Like, listen, hey, you think that's cool. I think this, that, and that should be cool too.
sure,
We should be able to go, yeah, cool. No, we'll see who's right. When like years down the line, we'll be able to look back and go, yeah, I fucking hell, I was wrong, and then that's okay. Yeah. But yeah. In my opinion, I think recruitment should be run as a professional services business. In that, all the time I've spent in recent years with talent acquisition, that's what they're crying out for: is a specialist agency or crop of agencies to go to and say, what's the market feeling on this? What's this? What's that? Rather than
how's that different?
because I think sales is a transaction. Sales is a part of the process and will always be. Just as marketing is marketing brings the people to the door. Sales kind of completes that transaction and gets them over the line. But I truly don't believe that you can, sell a job to a candidate. You can market that job to the candidate, and if the candidate is appropriate for it, you'll get the right person. But you can't sell a candidate into a client. You can present them with options, and you can encourage and sort of objection handle to an extent.
So our conversation is coming down to the definition of professional service and the definition of sales. So without defining that, I think we're actually in agreement.
Yeah.
You're calling it, because to me, that is just really good recruitment.
Yeah.
And good sales. I'm not going to force a candidate upon a client that I don't, I'm going to present a short list of the very best possible candidates within that market space. I'm going to
certain things will tell you
with
a burger. They'll present you with your options and you go, that's the one. But so is Burger King a sales business because they make sales?
Burger King sells food.
Yeah, but they're not a sales business, are they? They're a restaurant.
No, because I think, again, you go to them. So I think the fundamental difference here is that in recruitment, you are effectively going to market to offer your services and competing with other organizations for that level of for that service.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the way you're describing, again, I think it's just the definitions of how we describe.
I think so. Yeah, I don't know. I'm yet to be. I'm yet to understand then what is a sales business then, or give me an example of another sales business. Do you know what I mean? Because it's either that recruitment sits alone in its own kind of bubble of this is what it is.
Recruitment doesn't make anything.
No, nor does estate agencies.
Well, an estate agent has a product, and that product is not a human. Where am I going with that? So what is what is made of bricks and what is not made of? What is sentient and believes?
Yeah.
I wonder where I'm going with that. I think maybe we just need to. We sit down after the videos for a while. Carry on this conversation.
But yeah, I thought that would be an interesting way to end this conversation.
You've made some really interesting points. I'm going to go away on the drive home.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is not sales?
Yeah, you like it. Right, I've fucking got it.
That's it. No, it's like this.
Sit down and listen now. Right, no, listen. I want to give you a chance to plug your advisory stuff and kind of how do people reach out to you?
I'm on LinkedIn, so am I looking at the camera?
Yes.
As you see, the light is blinding me.
Yeah.
But no, it's something I enjoy doing. So if anyone feels like I can offer any help or support, I'm always available to have a conversation.
Great stuff. Like, I honestly want to thank you for making the journey and giving us your time. This has been a thoroughly enjoyable conversation. I'm glad we did it.
Let's see you again.
And you, mate, and you. Right, that's it from us. We'll see you again at the next episode. New episodes drop every Wednesday and Friday. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and doing all the cool shit that you guys do to keep us number one. Thank you very much. See you again.
Oh, that was good. And quickly.
Yeah, it flies by, doesn't it?
Very good.